Hello, hello, Sir David the Bard, coming to you from Kangaroo City here in Australia. Little Mickey flew me in. The doctor says he'll get his eyesight back any day, but he did a good job. We landed safely. Hit a couple of kangaroos, but that's okay. I have a video today, which may be my last video. I made a promise once that you'll know when it's my last video. And this may be it, it may not be, but I'm counting on this being my last video. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of trouble to find the flaws in the Mormon Church. I have around, I think, 1,400 videos on the Mormon Church and its fallacies and its cult connections, etc. And I've spent a lot of time doing that, taking it apart and trying to point out that I don't believe it, and it doesn't, cult is not going to capture me again. Anyway, I'm going to be a little bit sober, I think, in this. I don't know. I told you before, I'm an atheist. After Mormonism, I didn't believe in what we call bowling ball religions. That's where they have two eyes and a mouth. Bowling ball religion, that's where you worship bowling balls. False idols, false gods, maybe false seas. See, that's what I say. I cannot be serious. I cannot be serious. This is dead serious stuff, but I can't be serious. Anyway, I've spent a challenging time being an atheist. I wanted to make sure that I was making the right decision. And so I prayed 3 or 4 times a day for 2 months. For 2 months, asking for the direct revelation promised me in my patriarchal blessing. Now, my patriarchal blessing, I've told you before, haunts me. It says that my posterity will be great in numbers. Well, I've got 14 kids. Does that match? Or, yeah, it seems to. And it says that I would hear and enjoy praying because I'd be well rewarded praying, and that the Lord would answer me in mysterious and marvelous ways. Well, anyway, I prayed and prayed and prayed, and you know me, you've seen a lot of me, you know my personality. I don't get persuaded one way or the other. I stay down the middle if I can. But I've come across an issue here on atheism that I can't justify. So I prayed and prayed and prayed, and pretty soon, can you see that? Pretty soon, 2,100 pages of direct revelation came into my lap. Now, the Urantia book is a book that you can't just sit down and read. I shouldn't say that. Maybe some of you can. I spent 10 days, and I went through 2,100 pages. I had it read to me over the internet, so I can't read anymore. My eyes are bad. But anyway, 2,100 pages of angels and spiritual beings telling me the way things are and the way things were. Now, I had a lot of questions before I started reading this book. They may be silly. Your questions may be more important, but they're probably important to you. Where did we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going? You know, that's the famous phrase that we all use. Well, anyway, the Urantia book starts out with a lot of complex numbers. It tells where we are. Urantia is the name of our earth. In the kingdoms that are managing the earth, we're called Urantia. That's our name. I began studying at the very beginning with all the numbers, and it says that we're a quarantine planet. I go, what the hell did we get quarantined for? I haven't done anything that bad. But it says that all the other planets that have life on them have communication between them. We don't, because we're way out on the edge of the Milky Way, way away from other planets, and we don't have communication with those planets, but they have communication among themselves. Well, I just kept reading, and some of it is very technical, some of it is very difficult to read. The book was produced in 1935, and that's when all of the revelations in the book were recorded and written down. Who wrote them down? We don't know. Is there an author? No, there's no author. There's the Urantia Foundation only, and it's not asking for any money. It's not asking to join anything. I've told you over and over again, truth is free. Truth is free. You can go on the internet. You don't even have to buy the book. I think the book is $19, but I have the book and I have the internet. So anyway, I started this quest to find out, will these revelation papers actually answer my questions? And one of the first questions I had was about the dinosaurs. I had the misled belief that the dinosaurs came from other planets. When our planet was put together, the bones and the remains of those animals came from other planets. Not true. Not true. The Urantia book tells very clearly when the dinosaurs were here, what they ate, how they died, their extinction from starvation. It amazed me. I have my answer now for the antidote of dinosaurs. Well, one of the other things that I discovered is I was really curious. Now this sounds stupid, okay? Maybe it is, maybe I'm stupid, I don't know. But this sounds stupid. I wondered, do we have celestial bathrooms? Do we have to go pee and poop in a celestial bathroom? Maybe it has a guard, a angel sentry at the door, I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to know that. How do we go from this life into the next life when it comes to those two issues? I'll call them issues. Well, the book actually told me that basically that the Urantia body, or the Montrovio body, is different. I don't think we look like aliens, but it says that we don't have any waste because everything we consume is actually consumed. So when we eat a banana, we burn a banana. When we eat a taco, we burn a taco. So that kind of answered my question there, that, if you're going to be a celestial being, taking a crap is not a very celestial picture, if you know what I mean. Anyway, it answered that question. So the dinosaurs and the body. And the body is very clever, or very clear, that it does not have blood in it. It has another substance that goes through the vein, but it is not blood. And those we will not eat, basically, the same way we eat down here. The food that we eat, the food up there, I don't know, it's the tree of life or something, I don't know. But anyway, that answered that question. So then we went on, and I said to myself, what the hell did Adam and Eve do to get thrown out of such a beautiful, spacious garden? She took an apple off an apple tree, took a bite, gave him one bite, and the Lord kicks their ass out of the garden. I'm going, that doesn't make sense to me. The crime, the punishment does not fit the crime. So I continue to go on the Urantia book talking about Lucifer and the rebellion in heaven, and Castiaga, who is the planetary prince, how they all got together and caused the Lucifer rebellion. The Lucifer rebellion was that basically he made a flag that said liberty. He wanted to skip all of the steps that we have to go through to get to paradise. He wanted to just go right to it. And then he rebelled against all the people who had been following the program. Well, he lost, and he was put in spirit prison now. But the results of his escapades still affect us. So the Urantia Earth is behind because we had a situation that we had a war, basically, and that we got kicked out. There's a lot of people who did go with Satan that belonged to Urantia at one time. Well, Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub, all are three different people. I didn't know that. That makes sense to me, but I didn't know that. One of the things that happened in the garden, the fall of Adam, is that Eve, she decided, because she was persuaded by one of the servants of Lucifer, to try to upgrade the race very quickly with her genetic powers. Adam and Eve were sent here from another planet. It's a position that they applied for, and they got it. And there were many, many races of people on the earth that were here when they came, and they were going to uplift the races by genetically creating spiritual beings, or not spiritual, physical beings, that would upraise the intelligence and the ability of the creatures that lived here. Well, this one guy got talking to her and said, let's try to upgrade it. And he was handsome, and I think he did the rumba really good, because he mumbled her right into bed, and she got pregnant. Now, I'm starting to see a picture now that is bigger than an apple. I mean, the situation was bigger than an apple. Adam found out it's hard to go 9 months with a pregnancy and your husband doesn't recognize it, but he was a pretty smart dude. Well, he was pissed off. I think he was probably like most men. He was just plain pissed off that she's carrying the baby of this rebel Lucifer creature. Anyway, Adam decided he was going to get even, so he goes out and he has an affair. Well, there's no excuse for either one of them. I looked at that situation and I said, good grief, I would have kicked them out of the garden too. They had the tree of life, which they ate off of basically every day, and basically that kept their bodies alive because they had different bodies. And she ended up having a baby, and the baby was Cain. There was 2 years difference between Cain and Abel. And one of the things that you'll see in the book is that it's so exact. It tells you sometimes to the half hour. Jesus on the cross, it tells about the half hours that he went through, the things that he thought and the things that he did. But anyway, they had the two sons, Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel and then ran to his mother, Eve, and said he was going to be killed if people found out what he did. And I guess she somehow shielded him for a while from rebels who were going to get him. Excuse me. That answered the question about Adam and Eve. Now I understand. There were many races. There were different colored races. There was the red man, which is the Indian heritage. There was the yellow man, the orange man. The yellow man is Asian. The orange man and the green man. They were all different colored people when Adam got here. The indigo man, the black man, was also here. He was one of the races here. I'm sorry to say, but the Urantia book says that the black man race was the weakest race of them all. That basically they didn't have the intellectual wherewithal to invent and to improve their lifestyle. So anyway, take that as you may. So anyway, I understood Adam and Eve. I understood the dinosaurs. I understood the basic bathrooms are not male and female. They're not existent. So whatever problems we have at old age and going to the bathroom will be gone. Now paper right at 120 if you want to read just the life of Christ. Now I recommend this. The front of that book is so hard to read. And it took me 10 days to read 2,100 pages. And it's technical stuff. Telling what the name of the spirits are, telling about the spirits that were in the Garden of Eden. There was a second Garden of Eden that they went to after they got thrown out of the first one. There's such technicality, but I recommend that you start with the life of Jesus. That's about paper 120. It gives his birthday. It gives the time of his birth. It talks about the 3 wise men. It talks about Herod and killing all of the children, the male children under 2 or 3. But anyway, when you start with the life of Jesus, it is so exact, it can't be anything but revelation. You could very easily go to find out what day of the week September 3rd was in 20 AD. And that's a fact. And if that fact could be found, then you take this Urantia book and throw it in the trash. It's not accurate. Somebody made it up. But there's no author. Each one of the authors is a celestial being. There were angels that were in the Garden of Eden, and they described very, very well that 2/3 of Adam's children, and they numbered in the hundreds of thousands by the time that they got kicked out of there. 2/3 of them got taken off the planet. They didn't want to hang with their mother and father because of the sin that they committed. So between Adam and Eve's debacle and the Lucifer rebellion asking for freedom instantly for everybody, put the Urantia Earth in the limbo. We're not anywhere close to anybody else. So anyway, the life of Christ was too impressive for me. You know me. You've known me for a long time, almost 10 years. After Mormonism, atheism is pretty standard. It's pretty standard. You don't want any more bowling ball religions. And I don't want to get baffled again in a cult. One of the things about the Urantia book, it asks for no money. There's no address. It's a foundation. And there's no author. The book is no author. But after each one of the papers, the person who wrote that is the author, and it's at the bottom of the paper. Amazing. It talks all about, all kinds of religions, or all kinds of beings that are in the universe, and many of them are right here on the earth with us. And it talks about us having the spark of God in us, every human being, that when we pray, we can pray directly to the Father. It also taught me, am I dying? Yes. It also taught me that God is a spirit. God is the spirit. Now, I always wondered, another one of my questions, whether God came down and he's a glorified man. That's what the Mormons believe, that he's a glorified man. The Urantia book says there's no such thing as a glorified God who was a man. He's spirit. So then I got thinking, well, how does the spirit have sex with Mary the Virgin and create Christ? That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense to me. Well, after I found that God is a spirit, then I began to see more clearly what really happened. Jesus and Mary were husband and wife, and they had a baby, and the body of the baby took in the spirit of the promised son, Jesus. So God wasn't there on the bed with mercy screaming, give me more, give me more. That didn't make sense to me, and I think God would have got up and said, hey, I've had better, Mary, you're not bad, but I've had better. So anyway, the virgin birth is totally false. Jesus was a baby of Joseph and Mary. Now, if you want to know the early life of Jesus, you want to know his brothers and his sisters and their ages. I couldn't figure out why Joseph, Jesus' father, did not come to the crucifixion. That's baffled me for years, because I know Mary showed up, but how come the father doesn't show up? Well, he was killed in an industrial accident. He was working on one of the public buildings as a carpenter, and he was killed. Well, Jesus actually went in to try to get money for his father's death, but he was refused. But if you want to know his brothers and sisters, their sex, their ages, where they lived, how often they moved, what Christ did in his early part of his life, some of the kids in school would kind of tease him because he believed in turning the other cheek and not being violent. And there was a kid at school that was older than Christ, and he kind of beat up on the kids that were making fun of Christ, so Christ did not have to have the embarrassment and the humiliation of kids teasing him. Well, it tells all about the temple, when Christ went to the temple and he was young and he was teaching the aged and old people, that he had ideas that were very different. The message that Christ left and is here is the Father. He came to bestow his religion on the planet, to start the Christian religion. He's laid the grounds and the foundation for the Christian religion. It tells a little bit about John the Baptist, how he baptized Jesus, and many things. 100 more pages of the early life and basic midlife of Christ. The part of the crucifixion is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It tells what time he went on the cross, what time he came off, who took the body, where they took it. And another one of my questions was the revelation. When he appeared, Christ, to the apostles in a locked room, Thomas, according to the Bible, wanted to feel the prints, the cuts on his hands from the nail. When I was reading the Bible, I said, well, if he got resurrected, he would have had a perfect body. How are you going to be able to touch the wounds of Jesus if he has a perfect body? Well, the Urantia book straightened that right out, and Christ told him, don't touch me, I've not returned to my Father yet. And the puncture wounds were not there. They just were not there. That made sense to me. Now, let me summarize. I've been an atheist for about 8 or 10 years. But after I prayed and I received this information, this is all direct revelation. It's like sitting with an angel for 2 weeks answering any questions you want to ask. It's unbelievable. It was written in 1935, and it's undated, and it's not out of date. There's nothing in there that dates the information. The translation of the angels into English is perfect. It is perfect translation. So anyway, I just want to say I want to say that I've changed. The Urantia book has changed my life. It's 2,100 pages of direct revelation from the beings that were there. It's accurate to the T. And after reading the sections on Christ, I couldn't deny. I had the feeling, and it's not an emotional feeling, it's an intellectual feeling. It's a feeling of the mind, of the soul, of the spark of divinity that's in each one of us. But I've been looking, and I was willing to go to the grave, being an atheist. That doesn't scare me. Well, not very much. Anyway, I'm trying to be serious. Look at the Urantia book. See if it answers any of your questions. Nothing to join, no money, no one's asking for money, no one's asking anywhere in there for tithing or other kinds of things. The fact that God is a spirit, not a resurrected man, takes the Mormon church to its lowest depths. It's a false religion. It's not based upon truth. It's only based on man's fantasy. When you put this Urantia book up against any religion, it doesn't try to Buddhism, it doesn't do Hinduism, it doesn't do Islam, it doesn't do the Catholic Church. It doesn't make any of them evil or weak. It respects all religion. So take a look at it, read it. If it's too hard at the front of the book, go to the back of the book like I originally did. Read that and see if somebody could make that up. And is that the truth about Christ? So I'm back to being a Christian. I'm not in any church. I'm not in any institution. I'm alone. And that was the other thing the Urantia book taught me, is that your salvation is personal. You don't get saved with a family. You don't get saved in a group. You have to personally have the faith and the wherewithal to pray and to have faith that Jesus truly is the Savior of the world. Now the other thing, let me leave this with, because it went through my mind. Most of us have been taught that Jesus was a ransom. He was a atonement for the sins of Adam, and that he had to go on the cross to pay for those sins. None of that is true. None of that made sense to me. He's a ransom. You take your only begotten son who's perfect and you put him on a cross to watch him die? Where's the insanity here? Where is it? The thing is, after Christ was baptized, his mission was done. His bestowal of his gospel has basically been done. He could have just gone ahead and gone off to heaven and take his seat where he rightfully belonged. But he chose to stay. And he chose to go through the rest of his life. It was not the Father's decision. It was Christ's decision that he wanted to die like a regular man. Now, he didn't have to die on the cross. That's a total coincidence that that was capital punishment by the Romans. He didn't have to die that way, but he allowed himself to be used and to be abused and to basically be crucified. He was not crucified as a ransom. He saved the world. The Urantia book said, if you want to use that term, he did save the world from ignorance, but he didn't ransom and he didn't bleed every pore in Gethsemane, and that's where all the sins of the world came upon him. All the things I've been taught by the Mormon Church were just not true. They're just not true. And once I read the book, it makes sense. Damn, it makes sense. If you're going to go to a religion or go to a philosophy, it's got to make sense. Anyway, read it. See what you think of it. I'm not trying to endorse it. I'm saying for me, it's 2,100 pages of direct revelation from the beings who were present during the events being reported. So I'm a Christian again, and I believe in Christ, and I believe in the long-term resurrection of man, the going through the many mansion worlds that we have to go through to get to paradise. God is a spirit. He's not a man. So anyway, this is an advertisement for the book. No, it's not. No, it's not. Let me show the book to you one more time. 2,100 pages of pure revelation. Okay. Thank you very much. The bard is gone.